I'd like to call to order Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Monday, May 20th, 2024. And the first committee is Public Safety. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. So I'd like to call to order Public Safety. We have one item on the agenda tonight. That is the League of Women Voters CPRB recommendation. Mayor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Submitted names with recommendation from League of Women Voters. Ask for the favorable consideration of the council.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I move this.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any other items that would fall to Public Safety Committee? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
I would like to call the Finance Committee to order. And the first item is the annual fee waiver for exterior building repair permit. Everyone should have received an email from me last week with regards to the 2023 reports. This year, I'm looking to continue this exterior permit fee waiver for the period of June 1st to August 31st. And there is a draft letter and package to kind of identify the same thing from the previous years. I'll just continue with the changing the dates and continue to carry this program forward. Last year, we were able to give back to our neighborhood almost $24,000 as incentive for encouraging homeowners to pull permits, which is very important. Make sure they pull the permit, get it inspected by our code enforcement officer, make sure they're doing the correct thing and applying the code evenly across. So I'm looking to continue this program and to continue our give back to our neighborhood as they continue to revitalize the neighborhood across the city. Open for questions? Go ahead, please.
So thank you. Definitely sounds like a wonderful opportunity to offer our homeowners or individuals wanting to do this type of work in their homes. Based on the conversation we were able to have, I would like to see some substantiating documentation on the back end to speak to some of the added benefits to our community as we seek to have more budgetary conversations throughout the year leading up to this upcoming budget season. I just want to make sure at least I am being consistent in evaluating all opportunities where we are trying to make concessions with our community, just so we can speak to those in further detail when the question is ultimately asked how we pass a successful budget that the mayor will approve.
Any other questions? Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chairman, the wording it's highlighted on here for the maximum permit value of $35,000. That's for the construction value of $35,000, not the value of permit fees.
No, that's the construction value. So,
And then
yes,
this applies to residential construction.
that's correct, yes. On 1 to 4 unit residential property, 1 to 4 units. First bullet on the bottom. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to have you highlight, I think that you had told us how much it was that we saved the residents last year. It was around.
Yes, I did mention that, but I can pull that. Last year, on the regular permit, that's the application fee waived was $14,280 for a total of 255 permits that was pulled within that period of time. That was waived $56.
I think.
And then the fencing was 24 permits, valued at $1,200, and roofing 85 permits, $8,500, totaling $23,980. This is the largest incentive to give back to our community. It's the highest year, last year. And their homeowners are looking forward for this. Some of us might say it's, we're losing revenue, but at the same time, we're giving back to our community. We're buying into them, rehabbing their houses, and at the same time, this is our incentive towards them. Continue to pull the permits rather than them working without permits on weekends and evening and not pulling a permit, by allowing them to pull the permit, waive the fees, and get the work done. That's code required.
I'm
Yes,
interested.
go ahead, please.
Sorry.
Okay. So, Mr. Motivan, usually it's usually 1 to 3 that are 4 units, don't they become commercial, a 4-unit residence?
I would not be able to answer, but this is the same information that we had from the beginning, so we're just carrying forward year to year.
Right.
So,
Wow. There's been a lot of discussion lately about commercial
Yeah.
versus other residential, so
I mean,
it's,
I don't have a problem changing it to 1 to 3.
Three.
I mean, this is something that we can carry year to year, so as we revisit it, we can make changes as we go along. So if there is an agreement to change that to 1 to 3, I'm good. If you could do that, go ahead, please.
So, right, President Porterfield's right, so there's been a lot about, 4 units become like a commercial
Yeah.
trash versus residential trash. But you probably just check with code and zoning just to make sure. And then change it to 3 if need be, or
I mean, we can, I'm up to, changing it to 1 to 3, if that's the council's direction. I mean,
I'm okay with changing it 1 to 3.
1 to 3,
Carl?
yeah.
so Mr. Motivan, with this, it increases the value of the home, does that also increase their assessment on their property?
Well, at some stage, if an extension is done or a change is done onto the property while they're doing the construction, yeah, that will trigger an assessment increase.
That's what Mr. Motiver is saying. Generally, if it is a maintenance issue, it does not increase the value of the property. If it's an expansion or increase the functionality of the property, then the assessment would go up.
Go ahead, please.
And then from our conversation, I don't know if I was explicit in this setting, but I would like to see an account of how many expansion efforts and then what was that additional value added to our city, just so we can properly identify the full impact of this program. And then since it has been year to year to year, or it's been years since I've been on the council, I think an appropriate conversation would then be how do we evaluate maybe streamlining this into the budget? That's an opportunity, but I think looking at the permanency of this, and then are there other facets of coding that we can evaluate for these types of gains as well, if that's what the data reads.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Motivan, would this have already been a part of our budget planning for 2024?
No, that's what
Oh, okay.
Mr. was talking. So that's something we can consider to add this into the line as a revenue reduction, kind of say, give back. So we can account for this in and out of the budget from the codes department. We will have to engage the assessor office to look at the 255 plus 2485 permits to see which one triggers an expansion or a change that would ultimately adjust the assessment value. That is something I can reach out to and see if we can get that done.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So timing-wise, though, it will put this back, because we'd have to come back to our next committee meeting? Is that what you were wanting us to do? Or-
We would
Are you, because we are looking to have this start on June 1st. Is that some information you wanted to kind of get on hand and then look at it over into next year?
So I would say, since it would appear that many residents in the city have functioned with this understanding already in mind, I think delaying that, especially if you speak so confidently about the program, I'm not challenging that. I think for me, I would like to ask to kind of continue, and then should we identify any variations, I would like to have the opportunity to kind of readdress this at the council.
Yes, absolutely. I do have notes on that, and we'll follow up and get those reports in to all of us.
So will we have reports by Friday? Are you saying before we get to, not saying that? Okay.
I will be able to answer that. It's controlled with the staffing and the availability. I will send out requests to the mayor, Michelle, and ask the staff to get that report for us.
Okay.
I'm guessing it shouldn't be long because the reports to that person here, but it's just that they have to look at the type of permits that was pulled and the type of work that was done. Any other comments?
No, but next week is May 28th. I mean, our meeting is May 28th,
Yeah, so
so.
that's why we'll move forward with this. And we'll follow up with those reports and make sure you have them in hand. So in the future, I will ask for that going forward. Along with the permit report, I will ask for also the expansion or anything of major impact.
Thank you.
I just do have one other comment about putting in the budget. I'm not so sure that we could do that and make it work, because in the budget, we give a definite number, like, let's say 25,000. But if there are more people that take advantage, when we get to that $25,000, what happens then? So we would want to keep in mind, if we give a definitive number, then when we get there, what happens to the people that may go over? I know that it's not something we need to discuss today because we're not in budget season yet, but coming close. Then, we can talk about that. So I just want to make sure that we consider that.
We've made this work. The normal budgetary process would be is you have to find some way to offset this
Right.
revenue.
So,
I shouldn't say revenue, it's
yeah,
lost.
cost.
All right, any other comments?
So, but I understood Mr. Mudaviran to say that there's been return on investment based. Has there been a return on investment with this program? What the council, what the city has waived, has there been an increase in?
Well, that's the report we're going to look
Okay,
at.
so you're not-
See,
we're not
We
sure
never
about-
looked at it, nobody
Oh.
never asked for it. What
Okay.
we're looking at as the incentive of getting back almost
Okay.
$24,000. So work was performed, 255 permit, regular permit was pulled within that given time period last year, plus the 24, plus the 85 permits within that 3 months time. So a lot of work was done during that period of time.
And then, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
And if I could just lastly add, definitely looking forward to planning my shadowing of the codes department in the near future. Really excited about that. But I would love to hear from this department after this season, just to understand or get a better indication of if there are any unforeseen hurdles or issues that they notice on their end. But I always love hearing information and sharing it with the table.
And I just would like to add one other thing, Mr. Mudaviran, since we have a new person heading up the codes department, I think it's make sure we get this information, because they're not going to be familiar with it. They weren't here last year.
No, I did have
Oh.
the chief building intendant request a meeting with me.
Okay.
I met with him a couple of weeks ago.
Okay,
Because when I asked for the report, he did submit a report and asked to have a brief meeting.
Okay.
So I highlight the program
Okay.
with him,
all right.
yes. And
Thank
I
you.
walk him through the detail of the program so you get a better understanding of this program that we are running for the last several years.
All right, thank you.
All right, so the only change that we're going to have in this document here is the first bullet on the bottom section is that residential property 1 to 3 units. All right, seeing none, have a motion to move.
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Or second, oh my gosh.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, thank you. The next item is a swimming pool operating agreement with Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady. Mr. Lamar.
Are you going to do that, Chris, or you want me to?
You want that?
I don't know if council has any question on this. Is just a basic renewal of our operating agreement with the Boys and Girls Club to run the swimming pools. They have submitted a proposal at just under $200,000. It's subject to a little flexibility with Central Park opening, still playing around with what those hours would be. We might extend them somewhat based on demand or weather. It's a good partnership and relationship where they do the staffing for the lifeguards and related activity. And again, we're looking forward to having the Central Park pool open, up and running.
Question, go ahead, please.
So you said a little bit of flexibility. There wouldn't be the change in the cost, but maybe the hours is the only thing?
The actual cost, I think, went up a little bit in this. I'll give you the numbers from last year.
No, we didn't give me the last year.
This is up a few $1,000s from what we paid last year, but it reflects the hourly rate for the lifeguards.
Okay.
How many years has the Boys and Girls Club been doing this?
Go ahead, please, go ahead. Sorry.
How many years have the Boys and Girls Club been doing this now? It's been a while, hasn't it?
10,
Yeah, okay.
Any other comments?
I'll move it.
Seeing none, second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any other business for finance? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, would you call the order of government ops?
I would like to call to order government operation, and for one item is a request to authorization to purchase hydrochloric acid 2024 for the water department. Chris.
I'll cover this. So like it says, every year the water department solicits bid for hydrofluoric acid for our water wells. Chemical is used in the treatment of our municipal water. We put it out to bid. A low bid was received from Univar Solutions at $51,200. Are recommending to purchase the product from Univar Solutions for our municipal water.
Questions? Seeing none, I have a motion to move forward.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chris. Any other business for government operation?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order City Development and Planning. We have 17 items on the agenda. The first item is the discussion of possible agreement regarding paddle boats in Central Park. I don't see Mr. LaFawn present. Is there anyone that's supposed to be taking this over for him? If not,
I'll address it. This is a proposal that has come in to operate paddle boats in the city of Schenectady's Iroquois Lake. Really, I'm recommending that we entertain this. I don't have a fee structure for look to charge people. Could be as cheap as a few $100, might be $1,000.
for a paddle boat ride?
The city council president gets a discount on it's going back like 20 years ago. We had paddle boats there. They went in period of decline. So this would be a vendor coming in. We would see how it goes, looking to get a little revenue for the city, but they would pick up all the risk and assessment for staffing, providing the equipment, and just managing the operation. And so we'd see how it is this year and then be able to have a more formal relationship next year.
Do they, because we just have the LRIs, are they anticipating a start time, and we'd like to see the background information on the company,
We
all that they offer?
look to get it started as soon as possible, sometime in June, running it through Labor Day. And again, the question comes, what's the council think it's worth? Is it a few $100, $1,000? I don't think they're going to participate if we set the number too high, and some of that discussion could actually go into executive session if the council really wants to get into the minutia of contract.
What I'd like to see is actually what they're offering, and all that, without necessarily getting to the price, because that's going to help us determine what the cost is going to be. So I have the woman's name, but not the name of the organization or anything. So I think if in 2 weeks we could at least hear more about what they're offering, the organization, and have they done this before, and those kind of things.
Okay.
Other questions?
If they had a package together, I assume it would be the number of boats, the type of boats, this business plan, would the council consider it for unanimous consent on Monday?
Ms. Patrick?
I would. I think it's a great idea. I've heard many stories of folks using the paddle boats. I think it would add yet another, feature to our beautiful Central Park. So I definitely would be in favor of it. I'm hoping we'll bring in $24,000 in revenue. And that was Mr. Mudavar, that was sorry.
I know you were coming.
But in any case, I think it would be a great
And
program
I'm
to
not sure
have.
we
So-
could get it together if we could.
Get your hand up,
No.
click in your pen.
No.
I really can't commit to unanimous
No.
consent until I see the background. I just don't want to make a promise and read something and say like, So,
I did have one more question.
Ms. Patrick?
So the other thing question that I had was whether they would be also responsible for taking reservations, or how that would be handled in terms of, not putting something else onto
They're
the
assuming, they're assuming the whole responsibility for it, so
Yes, Mr. Short?
I know it was Tuesday or Wednesday at the golf course, I saw our paddle boats they're back there by the sheds. And I got thinking of how much fun they were. When my girls were little, we'd always take the paddle boats out, Tuesday in the park, the fireworks, so. And there were constantly people on the pond, on Iroquois Lake, yeah, with the paddle boats. I think it's a good thing, and without any obligation or cost to us, so I'd be in favor of whatever we could put forward.
And if, not to cast any aspersions over it, but if the council did consider it by unanimous consent Monday night, they would probably extend that discount for the rides that's granted to the council president to all the council members.
Wow, this is getting better.
Not taking any discounts, I'll be in the paper.
Yeah, I don't have a problem, getting all the documents and move this to unanimous consent on the part.
Let me see if we can get a package together, because it's
Yeah,
more now, it's conceptual, it sounds good, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we all know the devil's in the details.
Then we have another council member who's not here, so that would mean that everybody would be on board. So the sooner the better. I know Mr. LaFawn said he just kind of like, there wasn't a real, they just approached them. There was nothing really hammered out yet, so it wouldn't matter to me. And we can consider it for unanimous consent if we get all the documents.
Great.
Okay, the next item, item 2 is the award bid contract for the Schenectady Police Locker and Toilet Room renovations. Mr. Wallen?
Last session, I came to you with the award of 3 contracts for the renovations of Schenectady Police Toilet and Locker Room. They were the mechanical, the electrical, and the general. We did not have a plumbing at the time, as we did not have anyone put in. Actually, we had a plumbing, not a mechanical. So we had to rebid the mechanical portion of it, the 4th. We did reach out to some firms. We did get a bid on it from Eckert Mechanical. Eckert Mechanical, they seem to be aggressively pursuing working in the city. They were also knee low on our fire station and HVAC maintenance contracts. So they have an idea of the buildings, and we're comfortable moving forward with it. And this would be our 4th contractor, so that we can move forward with the project as a whole.
Questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 3 is being closed at the request of Mr. Wallen. Item number 4, to authorize the issuance of revocable permit number 683 to MTX Group.
Yep. We've seen this one before, but working with the law department, we discovered some discrepancies. What we want to make sure is going forward that the applicant's information is on the permit and not the installer of the sign. So we went back and we clarified that, and we had them add it. We also had them add an email that the certificate owner for the insurance is going to be the property owner, which is Scotia Holdings. So now that we have that documented, we'd like to officially issue the revocable. We didn't issue the revocable, correct, Maxie, before, so this is now the official issuance of it. We'll just act like it never, for 683.
The 683 wasn't issued before.
Correct.
Right.
So we're going to move forward now. This is the issuance.
Okay. Questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 5, the authorization of the issuance of a revocable permit 684 to Maverick Quantum Inc.
So, same building, similar sign, same insurance holder, different company in the building, and same thing, we had them reapply for the correct applicant information and signature of the applicant, not signature of the sign company. And that would be the standard going forward when we do revocables, to make sure that usually it's like an AJ sign, they're very familiar, we work with them, and they'll fill it out on behalf, but we would like to now see the applicant's signature and the applicant's information, and not do it as on behalf of. So,
Makes sense.
Okay. Questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Item number 6 is discussion of seeker and planning commission recommendation regarding the addition of section 264-113 of Schenectady City Code regarding the regulation and location of smoke shops, vape shops, hookah lounges, and vape consumption businesses. There was a public hearing that was held on April 22nd, 2024. Ms. Barash?
Yeah, I'll take this, Madam President. I think Jack Connolly from the Planning Department is here as well. As you know, this was the public hearing was held about a month ago. As part of the legislative process, staff has been looking at the proposed ordinance and has some changes that need to be, we're recommending to the proposed ordinance, and also giving you a way ahead here as far as the process. As Mr. Conlon will go through it in just a moment regarding the changes to the proposed ordinance. But since we're amending the zoning code, this needs to be referred up to the county planning department. So if the changes as discussed, if there's changes to it, then the final draft you can transmit up to the county on Monday via a resolution saying that the proposed vape ordinance is attached for county's review, and pursuant to the state law, they have 30 days in which to do the review. Because, as you all know, the moratorium is coming up and expiring in June, pursuant to that, then we need to do a public hearing prior to the extension of that for another 3 months. So I would recommend that the council pass a resolution calling for a public hearing for next week, for the 10th, if it's necessary to extend that moratorium. Obviously, it depends on what you all do here tonight as far as changing, the draft, and then subject to the county planning department's review and recommendations. So that's the process, the big picture, and Mr. Conlon will go through some of the provisions that staff has been going through.
So the first provision is pretty brief. In section B, location, the only thing that needs to change is R2 is not included as one of the zoning districts that these will be prohibited in. All the other residential districts, as long as C1, 2, 3, and the I districts were included, C1 area R2 was just an oversight that was not included. Obviously, I'm sure we can all agree we'd like to see that in there. The second ones, the rest of them are a little bit bigger. We want to change some of the radiuses. I can go through why we want to do that as well. So in the next section, C, restriction on location of hookah lounges, vape lounges, smoke, and/or vape shops. We decided to take out paragraph 1 in regards to the radius regarding residential uses. Originally, there was a 1,000-foot radius in any industrial zone that was near within 1,000 feet of a residential district. The reason we decided to get rid of that is because the majority of our industrial districts are very small to begin with, and pretty much all of them have parcels that are within 1,000 feet of residential districts. So I pulled the data earlier. M1 and M2 districts, which are our industrial manufacturing districts, are only about 11% of the area of the city to begin with, and the vast majority of those parcels that lie within those districts are within the radius of the residential. So we'd effectively be banning them from nearly all of the industrial districts if this were to be enacted. Given the fact that the industrial is obviously very clear and separate from the residential, we didn't see that as necessary. The other reasons why we didn't see it as necessary go with the next 2 items. First of all, we wanted to keep up the 1,000-foot radius with similar uses, meaning if there's one smoke shop in that region, that we can't have another one within 1,000 feet. Therefore, if you have one in an M1 district, unless things are very perfectly situated, which you're not going to have a second in that industrial district, meaning there's only going to be one per district close to residential, relatively close to residential, I should say. It's not even going to be near residential. But because of that, we're going to severely decrease the density of the smoke shops there. The last thing in number 3, we wanted to switch it from 2,000 feet to 750 feet away from schools. The reason for that is, again, similar to what I was saying before, these are already being severely limited. 2,000 feet from, as it's currently listed right now, would effectively limit it completely. And it would effectively make it so you cannot open one of these shops, which I understand is part of the purpose of the moratorium. However, we need to allow for some uses of it. We can't outright ban it completely. So the goal was to get it 750 feet away from schools, most of which are already located in residential districts that wouldn't have any use for this anyway. There are a few schools that I have listed that would be affected, and that would eliminate some of those business and industrial districts from consideration. But for the most part, it would stay relatively similar to how it is. Again, the purpose is written as it is, with the changes that I just detailed. We would still be severely limiting the smoke shops, but it would make it a bit more accessible for them, with still making it completely restricted for our purposes.
And just to follow on Mr. Cowley's comments, regarding Section 2, currently Section 2, there would be a minor tweak there where it would say legal hookah lounge, smoke shop, and vape lounge.
Yes.
That's just added just to make it consistent. And
Excuse me, were you adding that language?
it would be under 2. It would be such legal hookah lounge and vape lounge. In the original draft, the smoke shop was deleted, but
Okay.
was omitted, and it should have been in there. So that's just a corrective action.
Okay.
And then, Madam President, as you know, the council also got a memo from the Planning Commission regarding this. While they didn't indicate a specific percentage of the floor area of a smoke shop, vape shop, hookah lounge, they did indicate that it would be something less than 40%, which the current draft has. And just some localities have gone down as far as 25%. So I'm just giving you a range. 25 to proposed was taken, the ordinance, that language was taken from the town of Babylon. So other localities have done to 25. So just giving the council a range of numbers.
So you were there with the planning meeting. Do you want to
Yes.
talk about that, please?
Effectively, what they said is they thought 40% was too large of an area, because their main concern is you could have 38% of the floor area be dedicated to smoking materials, and then the rest just be filled with, they call it fluff items. So technically, it's not 40% of the floor area that's for smoking, and they can be legally operating, but it would effectively be operating as a smoke shop. So that's why they wanted that threshold lowered. As Mr. O'Brien said, they don't have a specific number. They wanted it something closer to how a Stewart's operates, with smoking products in the back. And speaking with Christine Permiano upstairs, we thought, clearly Stewart's is not a smoke shop. So we wanted it a bit more than that. 25% in our estimation seemed like a fair number. As Mr. O'Brien said, that was similar to other municipalities in the area.
So my only concern with that is that smoke shops, that's all they have. It's not like Stewart's where they have ice cream and cigarettes. Smoke shops, that's all they have. So I'm not sure I'm not saying that we shouldn't lower it. I just don't want to make it so restrictive that we're essentially trying to tell them they just can't have their product advertised. I don't oppose smoke shops, but I think we need to be fair in how we put this legislation together.
I think that's fair. Yeah, the reason they brought it up is there was a convenience store opening up, and when they found out that it could be up to 40%, they found that they were effectively going to operate as a smoke shop based on the conversation that was had in the planning commission meeting with that applicant. Mm-hmm. So that's what spurred their recommendation.
Yes, Mr. Toro.
I did notice one convenience store that did advertise as a smoke shop on half of the store. That smoke shop sign came down, so I know there's been some enforcement out there as well, so, and it wasn't on our list of even legal smoke shops, so. yeah.
Our zoning officers put a lot of effort into
Yep.
restricting the signs recently.
Mr. Williams?
So I had one question, and I'm just not really sitting that well with me. In the section C, reducing the property around schools from 2,750 feet. As you mentioned, just referencing just the intent with which this was presented to the council in 2008. It says this ordinance is enacted to regulate land use and to protect health and safety and the welfare of our community pursuant. Can you just speak to the reasoning behind identifying 2,000 as an appropriate measure? And I understood what you were speaking towards of reducing that to 750.
So you're saying why was 2,000 originally considered?
Yeah, the 2000 was the model that we used, that was out of the town of Babylon. That's where the figure 2000 came from. So upon further review, that's where we're looking at now taking those feet and looking at the zoning map and where these shops are going to go. And then regarding the 750, you're also, that would really just affect the commercial districts in C4 and C5. Is that pretty much?
So I went through all the schools in the city. There are a couple that come within 750 feet of this. As I said, most schools wouldn't be affected by this anyway because they're in primarily residential districts. There would be a few schools that are in that 750 foot buffer. Effectively, what it would be looking like is this. A majority of our industrial districts, which I said after these things are about 10% of our city, would be able to have smoke shops as of right. If they have one, there can't be another within 1,000 feet. It would be severely limited in there. C4 and C5, which is downtown in our business districts, it would be special use permit. Again, with the same rules applying, 1 per 1,000 feet. What that allows the planning commission to do is have a lot more leeway over what's allowed. So even though you might come into issues where, it's near residential areas that are technically C4, the planning commission has the authority to view that as a whole and take that into consideration when passing approvals.
And okay.
Would you be able to provide us a listing of those schools that might potentially be affected?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
And just following up Mr. Collins' remark regarding the special use permit, the section 264-99 sub B of the code says the proposed building, that would be the vape shop, or use will not have a substantial undue adverse effect upon adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, parking, utility facilities, and other matters affecting public health, safety, and general welfare. So those, even though you're decreasing that, as part of the special use permit, the planning commission has to factor those items into their decision.
And just as a sort of a standpoint right now, I did the analysis for this. Obviously, this building would never be a smoke shop, let's hope. But a 500-foot radius from here would take you down to Broadway, to Union Street, and State Street. So an 1,000-foot radius would be twice that size. So having one smoke shop there is going to severely impact the rest of that neighborhood and make it clear of any others.
Ms. Patrick, did you have your hand up?
That was a good clarifying point. I mean, I was questioning the 750 as well and how we got to that lower number from 2,000. So, and also wasn't sure why, we just didn't say 1,000 since we were, using 1,000 as the marker in the other in the other bullet. But because my concern is having them close to schools. We don't want them close to schools.
Right.
So, but it sounds like that's a good enough distance.
We felt as if it was. We spent a lot of time talking about it. 750 we thought was a fair number. And like I said, I looked at all the schools. The ones that would be affected are still going to be a decent amount away from the industrial districts. And again, that's only also if things are perfectly placed to be as close as possible. If there's one on the farther end of the industrial district that's closer to 1,000 or more feet away from the school, that's going to make it so there's nothing else that can get even remotely close.
So these are for the, people that are going to be applying. So for the existing vape, the existing legal vape and smoke shops, those will be taken into account when somebody else is trying to locate.
So those would take into account, let me pull up right or something. It's on section 1, those businesses, according to this legislation, would cease to exist after 1 year of the city council adopting the legislation. Now, if they are in an industrial district already, they can apply for site plan approval again. If they are in a C4 or C5 district, they can apply for a special use permit. If they are in another district, as I know one of the main problem areas is Upper Union Street, which is C2, they could apply for a use variance, which at the last page details that it could be granted if they show that they have not received financial, the proper financial repercussions for opening the business in the first place. And the use variance would only be good until they get their finances in order. Once they, get a return on their investment, then the business would cease to exist again. It could not reopen again unless there was a use variance granted, which would be unlikely.
I don't know. They're telling people they're going to go to business in a year. I'm not sure that. I'm not 100% comfortable.
But they would have the ability to go before the zoning board of appeals and make their case as to why they should stay, additional because of amortization of their costs. So the idea is to allow the business to recoup their investments past that 1 year deadline.
And this wasn't anything that changed from the last time it was here either. That was something that remained the same.
In the original draft.
Yeah.
Do we know how many existing shops that will impact?
I don't have a number for you.
That would be important to know. Would you be able to provide us with that information?
I could provide you with a rough number. Getting an exact one would be near impossible.
Yeah.
But we could look into it.
Madam President, just for, as follow-up from my earlier comments, just for, the way ahead, if, based on Mr. Connolly's comments and the other comments, if you want to move forward with this, you could amend it as we've just discussed, and we'll put it on the agenda for Monday, and that we'll have a cover resolution for transmittal up to the county planning department for their comment and review. And then subject to their comments, then it would come back before the council for final action or any other amendments based on the
So would
comments
there
from the
be
county.
an opportunity to amend after we find out the additional information?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And so but I think what we're looking to do is move this forward so the county has something to look at from us, a final draft, if you will, and then have that process move forward. And as I indicated earlier, also have a resolution calling for a public hearing extending the moratorium past that June 10th date. So we're keeping everything moving along.
Okay. So I just have one other question under item C, number 4, where about the window coverage of the 20% and all that. So are these numbers according to the, I know there's some SEPTED guidelines?
These are actually out of this, the signage wordage that you see there is out of the City of Buffalo's ordinance dealing with vape shops. So that's where those numbers came from.
And 20% is in our city code for all businesses.
It is for all businesses?
For all businesses. So it's restating what's already code.
Okay.
That is part of the SEPTED
It is part of it?
consideration.
Just want to make sure we're kind of being consistent. Okay.
Madam President.
So, Mayor?
I referenced Monday and Mr. O'Brien
Tuesday.
referenced Monday. It's actually Tuesday.
You can all
Yeah,
come on
Monday,
Monday.
sorry, the holiday.
Not that we don't all look forward to getting together on Monday and Tuesday, but we'll
On Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Also,
Ms. Patrick?
I would like to move this forward so that it can go to the county. However, I think the 25% piece needs to be discussed. The recommendation of the planning commission for section
Section, that's the,
Well, it's actually section 2A.
it's the,
22A.
yeah, it's under the definition section of the substantial or significant portion that goes through as A, B, C, and D. The 40% came from the town of Babylon's
Right.
code. Other, as Mr. Collins said, in my research indicates other locations have gone down to 25%. So that gives you a range, that gives the council a range to work from. If you can keep it at 40, or you can go down to 25, or anything in between. I mean, it's really up to you, what you feel comfortable with. It's just, there's other, as you, in that portion, there's other factors, how they define or describe the operation of the business. So this is just really narrowing it further.
So the planning commission recommends we lower it, just hasn't given a recommendation as to what we should lower it to.
They didn't give a specific number. They didn't have specific numbers on hand and didn't want to throw stuff around willy-nilly without, proper
That's fine. Okay. Discussion, council? And again, we can send this to the county, and if then we want to have more discussion or amend it, maybe have some conversations with the planning commission in terms of what their thinking was, because the memo that they said doesn't really give a lot of detail.
Right.
Okay, so just have that
First
discussion, and we could possibly change it then or leave it as is.
I mean, if it's the council's wish, you can put it up, you can move it forward with 40% and then change it again, change it if you wish. When you get the comments from the county, or amend it in the final amendment form, lower.
Mayor?
And the reality of these type of things are you're going to get people, whatever number you pick, and they're going to be compliant. There's also going to be other people who will be crafty, clever, interesting in their design of their floor space. What's common area, what's a walkway, what's actual retail, and so the wording there is, how do you have something that has some common sense that's enforceable, and that we want to be able to just manage it going forward.
Anyone else? Okay.
I think reducing it is the way to go, just based on everything we've been hearing from, for example, the New York State Tobacco Council.
Well, if the council chose a low number, is there a process where somebody would go to the zoning board of appeals or do something where they had some unique set of circumstances where they would then have to justify having additional space?
No, it's from an enforcement point of view, as far as what's your floor space, what you got in there as your inventory of product for sale, and it's waived for the zoning inspector or the code enforcement person to take a look, make an assessment on the floor space inventory. What's this business all about? And 40% is substantial or significant. It's 25%. 25%. Is that significant or substantial? Like I said, some localities have gone down to 25%. So there's other factors that they consider: revenues derived, advertising, etc., that an inspector can use. That's just further defining the enforcement mechanism of what's in that particular store.
Mr. Toro?
Having visited several of them, I mean, it's the same, they have the same product store after store after store. I would say more than 40% of their floor is dedicated to vape and smoke and paraphernalia and things like that. So 40 would, I think, a lot of the stores I've been in would reduce their inventory as it is now. 25% would even reduce it further. So again, I'd like to hear what, what the planning commission recommends. I can see lowering it a little bit, but I think the 25% would really limit what they have in their shop. And if we're allowing their shops to be there, then we should at least be able to kind of sell what they have, I guess. I don't
And
know.
40% was a number originally that was agreed upon between the Department of Development and the law office.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a number that we took from a couple different spots and looked at. The planning commission disagreed.
So I think we can move this forward, but I still would like to hear from the planning commission what their rationale was for that, and we could get that before it's time to actually, within 30 days that the county would have to send it back. I have to agree with Mr. Toro. I think that we don't want to limit it really too much, so we're just basically not giving people an opportunity to run their business. Mr.
So you're suggesting moving forward at 40%?
But we can amend that.
And amend it when we receive the recommendation from the county?
Exactly. That is my...
I'm good with it.
And also, Mr. O'Brien, you want us to also move ahead with to call for a public hearing?
For the extension of the moratorium.
All right, let's do this.
So first, should we move this forward to the county? Do we have to move this in a resolution to the county?
Yes. But
Okay, and then do a second resolution.
Yes.
Madam President, just so I'm tracking the changes here,
Yes.
so we're all on the same page. So
Okay.
for location, we're adding R2, that's corrective action, residential area R2. We're deleting the section, he's calling for restrictions on location of hookah lounges, vape lounges, etc. We're deleting one section. Paragraph 2 would then become paragraph 1, and paragraph 3 would become paragraph 2 with location changed to 750 feet. And that you would remain at this point 40% regarding the definition portions, that's substantial or significant portion. Is that correct?
That's right.
You would leave that at 40% at this point.
For now, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But this is, so I will amend as discussed, and then prepare the resolution as the cover resolution for the draft that will go up to the county.
Yes.
Okay.
So
We need to move.
yes, we need to move that.
So, as discussed.
Okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we need a motion to call for a public hearing to discuss, if needed, the extension on the moratorium.
So,
Second.
All those in favor?
And one final matter on this whole packet.
Yes, sir.
Madam President, there was a seeker, I think that a seeker resolution declaring this as a type 2 action. I think we should just wait on that until we get the final product of the ordinance ready to go and use that as a companion piece of legislation once
Okay,
it's
so you
ready
wanna
for
wait.
the final.
Okay. Anything else, Mr.
No,
Ryan?
thank you.
Okay. All right. Item number 7, 3-year home consortium agreement renewal with the City of Troy and Town Ms. Carter.
Good evening. Our Schenectady Troy Colony Consortium agreement is up for renewal. We renew it every 3 years. Roughly, each year we get $1 million in home federal funding that's allocated, with Schenectady being the lead entity. Part of this renewal process is that we need to do a resolution stating just that we're the lead entity and we're approving the renewal of the home consortium agreement for another 3 years. My recommendation today, which I did supply for your review, the last resolution that we did, is that we pass another 3-year renewal for the home consortium agreement.
Any questions or comments?
Move it.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next one is our pro-housing communities pledge resolution, Ms. Carter.
Yes. Governor Hochul's 2023 executive order has some designated funds, some discretionary funds that we would have access to if we get the pro-housing community designation. Part of that process to get that is to pass the community housing community pledge resolution. I do need to supply the exact wording to you for review, which I do have to make sure that we're aligned. By passing this resolution, we are agreeing to things that we already do. One, streamlining and permitting for multifamily housing, affordable housing units, accessibility, and supportive housing. That we're going to adopt policies that affirmatively further fair housing, incorporate regional housing needs into our planning decisions, and increase development capacity for residential uses. So today, the ask is for City Council to do a resolution adopting the Pro-Housing Communities Pledge.
So Ms. Carver will provide us with that information, but if everyone is comfortable pending that information, we can move it now. And if there's any question, of course, we can remove it if necessary. But I'll entertain a motion to do
So
that.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, so quickly, item number 9 is I'm asking for a ceremonial resolution recognizing Spiro Zulis and Steve Harris for their years of service at Woodlawn Park. They spent 13 years revitalizing that park. Spiro is now moving away, and Steve just felt like he couldn't carry on his own. So just want the council to recognize the work that they put into the city park.
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item is a ceremonial resolution recognizing National Caribbean American Heritage Month. Mr. Mutavera.
Thank you. June is recognized as National Caribbean Heritage Month, and I once again asking for a resolution to recognize the Caribbean American contribution to our city and the capital region.
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 11 is proposed zoning change for the Schenectady 40 project. Turn that over to the mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. We've been fortunate to done a number of major announcements recently on projects in the city. This item coming before you tonight, I want to thank the Land Bank team, DCNI, community builders, developers, Metroplex. It will have as big an impact or more than some of the other things that we've announced and are getting bigger headlines. But it's going to clean up a lot of blight within the area. It's going to create housing opportunities and hopefully just continue the level of excitement that we have on this community where people are making investments here, and that they'll be able to take advantage of your moratorium on the price structure, Mr. Speaker. But with that, I turn it over to Mr. Gillen from Metroplex to go through the proposal and the request.
We thank the council.
It should be on the mayor.
We thank the council president for having us tonight and for all of you for being here. I want to introduce Steve Streichman from our land bank. Love having Steve back on our team. Samik Gupta from Five Corners Development, very involved in this project. Andy Brick, our legal counsel. Courtney Davis from Labella Associates. And Jan Thompson from Community Builders, who's already done so much good work on the Albany Street corridor. As the mayor said, we're very pleased to bring this forward. Go ahead, Samik. This is really, we're riding on the coattails of the great work done by the legal team and the codes team here in the city and the mayor and everyone in this room it kind of reminds me of the Wedgeway building. We went after a bad owner there, were able to collect a huge fine, get the building transferred to a new owner. We have a $20 million project underway there with the help of the Restore New York program. We want to do the same here. So first and foremost, though, the codes team, the legal team, Maxine has been spectacular on this since she joined the city team. Won a judgment against the owner of this Schenectady 40 properties of $760,000. That's the biggest fine in the history of the city, as I understand it. Again, I had nothing to do with it. I wish I could take credit for it. This is so spectacular, but I can't. And with this, so not only are you going to get $760,000 to put in your budget, but we're going to get these blighted properties cleaned up, which is just so exciting. And you see a couple pictures there. Just go back, Samit, if you can. The one building I've talked to the council president on, this upper left, many times. It's burnout. It's a disaster. You look at the interior conditions of some of these buildings along the Albany Street corridor. So It's really exciting that this judgment was levied, and now we're moving forward with the plan to clean up the blighted sites. In addition, all of those buildings are along the Albany Street corridor. Adjacent to that Albany Street corridor, of course, is the Mohawk Honda site, which our partners at the county agreed to buy and have closed on, purchased it for $980,000. And the county has dedicated, as you all know, $3 million to develop that site of ARPA funding to develop a grocery store at that site. So we've got all of this potential good things happening on Albany Street. And of course, the Mohawk Honda site is right next to one of the great things about this site. It fronts both on Albany Street and on State Street. Next slide. When we looked at developing the Mohawk Honda site for retail and for new development, it quickly became apparent that you couldn't do one project without the other. You had to run these projects in tandem. I didn't think of this, I wasn't smart enough, but our team is very smart. So they said, you've got to run these in tandem. When we started showing the Mohawk Honda site to developers and to interested retailers, they said, what about all this blight on Albany Street, right next door? So you have to do them in tandem, and that's why we're here to talk about tonight. We're moving them forward at the same time. We've put together a great team, Community Builders, Five Corners Development, Better Community Neighborhoods. The consultant team is very strong, from our environmental experts to CT Mail, Labella, Andy Brick Law Firm, Jackson Demolition, and of course Metroplex of the Land Bank. This team has been very busy over the last 6 to 8 months. Surveys have been completed, phase 1 environmental reviews completed, phase 2 is basically completed, ongoing. Geotech, so we're testing the soil, ongoing. Asbestos testing, demolition budgets put together, asbestos abatement is underway on these properties. So we're getting ready to develop the site. This is the same thing we did at the Alco site. This is the same thing we've done time and time again in this community. Again, not only did the county buy Mohawk Honda and get site control, but we went after, and again, the city was super cooperative on this. We were awarded a $2.75 million grant from the Restore New York program to demolish and clean up this site and prep it for development. So we have that in hand. So again, it's a development momentum. We have these properties on Albany Street that are coming into control. We have the Mohawk Honda site under control. And now we have this grant to help prep the Mohawk Honda site for development. We're here tonight because you need to play a key role in moving this project forward. We want to rezone, and this is critical for this project to go forward. It's a minor change. There's 4 parcels on Schenectady Street that need to be rezoned, and there are 3 parcels on Albany Street. The 4 on Schenectady Street, 2 are owned by Sura, and we're in the process of asking those to be turned over to the land bank. The other 2 are part of the Schenectady 40, the infamous Schenectady 40 assemblage. All of the properties on Albany Street are part of the Schenectady 40 assemblage. Mm-hmm. So you see on the first slide the current zoning, see the red box on Schenectady Street, you see the small red box on Albany Street. Again, 4 parcels on Schenectady, 3 on Albany. We moved those into the green, and you can see that all the adjacent areas are already zoned C4. So we're making a very minor change with 3 parcels on Albany Street that are part of the Schenectady 40 assemblage, 4 on Schenectady Street. What that allows us to do is move forward with the project. Site A is the Mohawk Honda site to demolish that building, almost an 18,000 square foot building, clean it up, remediate it. Site B, there are 10 parcels there, very blighted, those come down. The buildings are unsafe, again, part of the Schenectady 40 assemblage. Site C, similar activity. The parcels are cleaned up, they're heavily damaged. That's the fire damaged parcel that you see on Albany Street now. That has to come down. It's very, very blighted and dilapidated site. So we're able to clean up a lot of this blighted corridor on Albany Street. And here's the good part. What we are planning to do with this great development team we put together is to build the new grocery store of 16,000 square feet in Site A, and build 125 housing units as well in Site A. In Site B on the lower left, 80 units. Site C, 20 units. So 225 units of new, affordable, high-quality housing, fitness center, business center, community, indoor, outdoor space. You see all the green space on the map. There's a lot of green space in this project. One of the things we talked to the council president about many times is having a very nice pathway from the grocery store back to Albany Street. That's in the plan. We have big buffer areas around underground parking, first level parking of the apartment buildings being first floor parking. So it's really a very good site plan, and we're excited to move it forward, but we need to do this zoning change, this minor zoning change in order to do this. What does this get us? More quality housing, removal of blighted and hazardous buildings, continue the development that we want to see in this corridor, provide access to transit, provide walkable development, and tree-lined sidewalks. We talked to many of you about your concern that this be a walkable development, have good sidewalks, have good landscaping, and really be a nice addition to our community. Of course, one of the reasons we're doing this, one of the drivers is to improve access to fresh food, enhance food security, improve quality of life, and the store will create 25 to 30 new jobs as well. So it's really a very creative development, taking those blighted buildings down that you won this big judgment against this notorious landlord who was breaking all the rules, getting you $760,000, getting those sites developed for quality affordable housing, taking the site that the county purchased, cleaning that up, knocking the building down, and developing it for grocery. To move this forward, that's what we're asking you to do. Declare your intent, as you often do, to be lead agency under seeker, which is required for any project like this. Make a referral to the Planning Commission this evening on the zoning change, and they'll go through their usual process and call for a public hearing as well. You see a couple of the Schenectady 40 properties there. They're really blighted, and again, they all get cleaned up with this project, and we're happy to answer any questions.
So you talked about the grocery store. Do you has you identified who that grocery store?
We're under a non-disclosure right now, but we have a letter of intent in place. We're working very diligently to complete that transaction.
Okay. And could you give us a little bit of information what the timeline would look like on this project?
The timeline is move this ahead, take the zone change to the Planning Commission. It's critical to allow this development to move forward. And again, it builds on the momentum we've already seen on Albany Street, the Community Builders Hillside Crossings project, the Joe Allen Apartments, and some of the other developments, Hillside Crossing 2. We then move into the development stage and bring the project, the building designs and other features of the project back to the Planning Commission for final review and move the project forward.
Overall, do you know, have an end to the timeline? I'm not trying to pin it down to the day.
We have been meeting weekly for longer than I want to tell you. We have a call every Friday with this development team, and we take notes, and it is moving forward. I would say, what would you think, Smeet?
Yeah, Q2, Q3, 2027, we would expect delivery. So we're hoping to have all HCR approvals by Q2, Q3 of this coming year. And then it's about roughly a 2-year build cycle from there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The key is getting the sites prepped and cleaned up, getting Wakanda cleaned up, getting the building down. We have the restore grant in hand. The development team we put together has the financing to purchase these buildings from the receiver that has been appointed by the courts to sell these properties. So you get your $960,000 this year.
900?
Seven.
No, he said 9.
I'm sorry. 760. You got me.
All right.
And then, so that happens. The demolition of Mall Condo would happen this year.
Yep.
The demolition of these Schenectady 40 properties would happen this year.
Hopefully this year, yeah.
Yep. And then we'll have cleaned up sites, environmentally remediated, like we did, look at the corner of Craig and Albany, where we built that beautiful new housing and cleaned up, a dry cleaner site that was very, very dirty, So all of those things take a little time, but then we head into the development phase and the construction phase, and it's a very large, exciting project. As the mayor said, this rivals some of the larger developments that we've seen happen in this community as a result of our great partnership between the county and the city and our unified economic development team.
Is it conceivable that the store, the grocery store, would be open before all the apartments are completed, or would like everything? If you wanted to add something to this, you could join Mr. Gillen up here, because then you'd be on the camera. Is it conceivable that the grocery store would be open prior to that? Are you planning just everything kind of launch it at one time?
It's probably going to happen all at the same time, just because part of the funding from the HCR is going to include funding for helping to support the grocery store.
Okay.
So realistically speaking, it will all be delivered around the same time. I mean, the Mohawk Honda site is obviously going to be the first. We're not necessarily phasing it, but it's going to be the first to be built, and then we're going to move on to the other sites. It's going to continue the sites after.
But it wouldn't be open until everything else is finished, even if
In
it's
parallel, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Williams?
So it's more of a comment. Definitely Schenectady winning in respect to economic revitalization and redevelopment is definitely something that I've come to just appreciate whenever you come to our council, and definitely is respective of the team and its collective work. So to definitely thank you for continuing to provide these types of results. In that same context, I also want to say, taking a step beyond that, where it's apparent the end users benefit from these types of efforts, where the grocery store and the additional housing and some of the other areas that you highlighted, but also I want to make sure there's considerable investments, kind of speaking in spirit to what Councilman Farley always brings up, making sure that our small business owners and our small business contractors can see those wins as well, not to speak as though they do not, but saying that we need to continue making sure that there are also tangible wins for those types of individuals, where having these developers come in and help clean up, definitely very welcomed. But I know we have some up and coming businesses within the community who are truly prideful Schenectadians that would love to be a part of these efforts as well.
That's a great point. I'm glad you raised it. We just had an outreach event up at the Mosaic development on Crane Street, inviting, the neighborhood in, inviting the local businesses in. We'll do the same thing here over and over, inviting the team in. And I'm just commenting earlier, thrilled that you passed the pro-housing. Move that forward tonight. Thank you, because that's going to help us in so many ways. That is really becoming something that they'll look at when they're scoring these grant applications from the state. So as your development director said very well this evening, that's a very important, that'll be helpful to our grant applications that we're applying for.
Ms. Patrick?
I just wanted to comment about the grocery store, because of course there's also the Electric City grocery store going in at the other end. And I'm just wondering if there was ever consideration of using this site for the Electric City grocery store, so that now we'll have two grocery stores instead of one.
Both are still under development. It's a good question. We have spoken to both groups. They're both still under development. That's a question you have to ask the co-op.
Okay, and I think this is fabulous. I'm very excited, especially that the demolition will happen within this year, is what I think I heard you say.
Yeah.
So
We hope the fence will be going up in the next couple of weeks around Mohawk Honda, and you'll see the site remediated.
And the housing.
And the demolition as well.
Yeah.
We're just waiting on closing the contract. Once that, with the housing, once we close on that, we'll demo those. Mohawk Honda will come down sooner. But realistically speaking, within the next 2 or 3 months would be our goal.
I really want to thank the team, the mayor, Maxine. We've taken up a lot of your time, her time, on preparing legal briefs and other things for the development team. Council President has been advising us on this and working with us for months now on this development. Going back, made some very good points about when we should bring this forward, given the legal issues that were surrounding this. We're very confident now this is the time and place to move this project forward and clean up this blight on Albany Street and clean up the Mohawk Honda site as well. And again, we should say, Mohawk Honda has been nothing but cooperative on this. Absolutely great citizens of the community. Held the option with the county for 3 years so that all the proper due diligence could be done and with the cleanup and et et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Mutavero?
On the apartments, are there considerations to set aside low-income apartments?
Yeah, so the entire, all of the buildings, all 4 of the buildings will be affordable.
Affordable, okay.
Income regulated. So you have to show your rent is based on your income.
Okay.
These are high-quality units, business center, fitness center, parking, green space. These are units every one of us would be proud to live in. They're made affordable by state housing tax credits that are issued so that we don't price these out of the range of hardworking Schenectadians, basically. And that's a big part of our agenda as well.
You wouldn't know the difference if this was a market rate or affordable housing. It just happens to be for affordable people who qualify.
Yeah, thank you.
In terms of infrastructure, we had a similar conversation when the other Hillside View went in terms of the sidewalks, essentially. You know what the sidewalks look like, and obviously you've walked it. So that is all built into this so that it's going to become really walkable?
Yes, absolutely. It's all part of our plan.
Okay.
Yep, a lot of green space, cleaning up light, cleaning up environmentally dirty sites and building quality units and making it a walkable development.
We've spent a lot of time reviewing through the Complete Streets program, so we're very familiar with what the city wants and what we need to deliver.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chris Wallen said to me, be short tonight, be quick. So I got to leave already.
Did you
I
do
do
that?
have a tendency to go on, but we wanted to fully brief you on this development, and we appreciate our whole team coming out and being here tonight, and we appreciate you bearing with us as we go through.
Exciting.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add, Nico? Council members, any other questions, statements? Okay. So at this time, the council would need to, thank you very much, need to declare our intent to act as lead agency, to refer this to the planning commission, and we need to call the public hearing?
Yes.
Public hearing as well?
A public hearing, but I would recommend until you hear back from the planning commission.
You want to wait?
Yeah. Because what's
Right, so we need the time frame, okay. So tonight, we would need to deal with
I would like to request, Steve Strikeman, the land bank, just like to request that the planning commission meets late this month, or in June, because of Juneteenth, so they're meeting the last Wednesday of the month. So I don't think there's any requirement that you have the public hearing before that, but I was hoping that the public hearing could be either on June 14th, whatever it is, June 10th or June 24th. I mean, there will be people will have the opportunity to speak publicly. The planning commission meeting, they'll have opportunity to speak at every one of the council meetings as this gets adopted down the road.
Madam President, I would recommend the 24th, because by that time, the planning commission would have had their meeting, and then therefore, we would have it on the 24th. And it would be draft legislation, perhaps for comment by that time, based on the actions of the planning commission.
So you recommend?
I'm saying, putting it out further.
Our public hearing?
Our public hearing on the 24th would be based on that schedule.
Okay.
By that time, there would be input from the planning commission too. We could work off of that to draft an ordinance for the public hearing and for your review.
Okay.
So you can call for the public hearing now if you want, but it will not be in our regular cycle, so it'll be put out a little bit later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't do anything, all right, thank you. So, Mr. O'Brien, do we need to do these as 3 separate resolutions?
Yes, you do 3 separate, referral,
Okay.
the seeker, and the public hearing.
All right, first of all, I would entertain a motion to have the city council declared as a lead agency.
So,
Second.
All's in favor?
aye.
I'd like a motion to have the city council refer this to the zoning change to the planning commission.
So,
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
And third, I'd like to ask city council to call for a public hearing on June 24th.
So,
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Thank you very much. The remainder of our items are in executive session, so all members of the public will have to leave. So I'd like a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.